no return. It doesn't matter where you're based, folks. It doesn't matter where you're based. Digital ID is coming for you. Do you know how we solve it? We solve it by banning every phone made after 2007, because that's when smartphones became a thing. I say this because I have stocks in Nokia, and before the smartphone, Nokia controlled 80% of the phone market. So, unlike most people who propose things, I will tell you that I have a vested interest. Dash, digital ID. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. It goes against everything I believe as an American, and it will you don't even have to think hard about how that's going to erode freedom, how that's going to be weaponized by governments to control speech. It's frankly, it'll be used to punish people for political thought. It's and that's exactly why they're pushing it. And it's horrifying, seeing the UK and even certain people in the United States push for this when it's going to take all the freedoms we take for granted away.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what would be worse than digital ID, Dash? Stamping what are those things? A barcode on your forehead. You can't put it on your hand or your arm because you'll cut it off and replace it with a cyborg one, like out of Cyberpunk 2077 or some stuff like that. But what we are seeing, folks, is a coordinated attempt to reawaken that old Soviet system of command and control, which fundamentally doesn't work, because the larger the country, the larger the population, the more difficult it is to command and control. It's a lot easier running a totalitarian socialist dictatorship when your population is the size of Iceland, 300,000 people, than it is a population of, 1.3 billion people, which is, China, Red China. So for me, digital ID is not a good idea. It's a fundamentally flawed idea, because any policy that can be defeated by a power cut is a very bad idea, and people just don't want it, especially freedom-loving people. And I think the most freedom-loving person here is noise. So what do you make of this from a panelist who loses power when he gets bad weather? Do you think digital ID is actually going to work, especially in rural parts of the United States that don't have power?
Well, if you're in a small country town, most things don't work half the time. But yeah, I mean, clearly it's all the invasion of privacy. They can abuse that so many ways. It's ridiculous. Plus, there's the Christian point of view, is like the mark of the beast. I can imagine, I can see them trying to implement this and failing for various reasons. But if they figure out how to put a genetic marker in you that works as a digital ID only through genetics, I can imagine they do that. Okay, look at what Bill Gates said about mosquitoes. They're natural vaccinators. He'll just, inject them and let them go. Now imagine if they did that to the GMO foods, the mosquitoes. We get the digital ID whether we want it or not. I could see this as an actual possibility, or at least something they attempt.
It's a very insidious way of doing it. I think a much more simpler way to buy popular support is to make it, fun and trendy and, get on this thing and you're cool. So everyone gets a smartphone for free. All these young kids who can't get off their iPads, guys. I got a neighbor who has a kid who literally, without technology, just goes, It's fucking annoying.
It reminds me, at one point a few years back, it was leaked what the FBI deems a potential threat, a possible terrorist. And one thing it included, and this was a few years back, is if a person did not have a Facebook account.
Oh, there was a parody clip on that, by the way.
Yeah. It's just crazy
Oh,
that what was considered insane, what was considered something worth fighting against a generation ago, is now being considered and enacted as policy. Because let's not forget, folks, although it was not in a digital format, in the Iron Curtain and in the Soviet Union, and dare I say, throughout the communist world, especially at its height in the 1970s, there was a system in place, especially in the old Soviet Union, where if you did not have your documentation, you're off to the gulag, you're off to the political prison camp, and you ain't ever getting out of there, okay? To the point where you could only go to certain places, certain areas, and you had to have your physical identification documentation, okay? That went from going, we must oppose this at all cost and feed trillions of US dollars into the military industrial complex to stop, to being actively proposed policy in what, 35 years? It's insane. We got two Bulgarians on the panel, right? Right? A son and a daughter of a generation who lived behind the Iron Curtain. 1984 made into reality, right? They can tell you better than we can in, say, the Western world or in Israel, what that sort of system is like. And all we're getting now is a digital variation of it, right? Could you imagine, guys? And this is actually being proposed through 15-minute cities. Dash, you can't leave your city, okay? You can't leave it, right? You drive out of your city, you will be arrested, charged, convicted, and sent to a political prisoner camp for about 15 years. Is that the future you want to live in?
I would like to leave town whenever I can. So
That's what
no.
digital ID will mean. If you don't have your phone on you, you're getting a few nights in the slammer until we find out who you are, you dangerous terrorist. I'm picking on Dash specifically because Noise would be like, because he's that kind of American. But look, Helzo can tell you this. What do you make of the idea of a digital ID system?
Before I answer, I just want to share something.
Oh.
And Iris Rhoda actually said it in chat. This is live, by the way. I want you, if you haven't seen it for some reason, I'll just point you out. 2,813,976 and going up every several seconds.
That is just to give context.
The bar is.
Well, just to give context, also, all of those are British-based signatures because
exactly.
Of the vetting
I cannot sign this because I'm not British.
That is the size of a mid-level third party in
this
the
is
United
the size
States.
of our capital city and more. This is like 1/3 of our current population in Bulgaria, just to say. Parliament will consider this for a debate once that get more than 100,000 signatures. All right. So what does that mean? What would that mean in a democratic, in an open discussion, in a place where you casting your vote with your ID, by the way, with your ID, would mean that Parliament will get this into a voting, and there will be a discussion. There will be representatives for that movement to get their case and to be a public vote that will probably be presented live, so that you see what the government decides and how they listen to their people. That's what should happen. You know, all right, that's what you would expect to happen when you're casting votes, when you're voting, when you're expressing your freedom and your voice to the government that you supposedly elected by casting your voice. And now we have government responded. This is the official response from the UK government given on October 2nd, 2025, after this was already well beyond 2 million. Quote, We will introduce a digital ID within this parliament to help tackle illegal immigration, make accessing government services easier, and enable wider efficiencies. We will consult on details soon. There's a full response.
Oh yeah,
but this
so
is
they
basically-
say fuck off everyone. Like, we're doing it
Exact-
anyway.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So you can
But what,
you can cast your petty votes. You can sign your petty petitions. We'll do whatever the fuck we want because we're the fucking government. You're nothing but peons. You're nothing but workers that pay their taxes and put money in our bags, and we will deal with you as whatever we the fuck want.
These are the people crying about fascism.
well, I
This
knew
is
people-
Bulgaria
I knew
before
people-
1990, with the sole difference that we didn't even get to vote.
Oh, of course not. Of course not. And
At least the government was honest enough to not get you to have these petitions. And if you do, you are going to the slammer and probably get your head shaven if you had a slightly longer hair than allowed.
Well, I'll just let people be aware because the British, of all the people who hide the devil in the detail, it's the British who are on top of the list. But before I go into too much detail, thank you, Roadkill, again for another nearly $5 donation, in which you say the following quote: "The 40K Empress said my push-up form was trash, then demanded I donate. I over it, Empress." Well, you should go and check out her health and fitness-based content, Roadkill, and you'll be able to get fit. There we go.
Where I'm not gonna criticize your form, but okay. you come up with the greatest stories ever. Yeah, very interesting stuff. But now I want to see your form. So, okay, I promise not to.
You want
not
to see
say
your
anything.
form, old kid.
I will point out that the devil is in the detail, that the authorities in the UK made it clear by the end of the Parliament, which is by 2029. Right? And consider the Online Safety Act in the UK. It took 5 years to go from proposed to enacted to actually enforced. And it was met with a heck of a lot less resistance than this digital ID is facing, right? This happened 20 years ago when they wanted to have mandatory ID in the UK with another Labour government that also had a massive majority, and it failed. History is repeating itself, folks. Even if this gets through Parliament, even if it gets through both houses, this is going to take years to fully implement. And by the time it's fully implemented, there'll be a general election in which the most unpopular government in British history gets wiped out, and then the new force that comes along, in order to stay in power for a generation, it'll be that easy. Get rid of this, win the next election. Literally, we can raise your taxes, 90% income tax rate, but we're getting rid of digital ID. They'll still win the damn election. I'm telling you, because it's that hated. Because people...
They'll just implement it little by little without announcing it until it's fully implemented and everybody had, slowly gotten used to it.
Well, that's the thing people need to understand about the UK, because the Online Safety Act didn't get a lot of resistance, but it still took them 5 years to go from proposing it to making it law, which took about 3 years, and then enacting it, which took another 2 years, which means people were breaking the law for 2 years and getting away with it, because law is only as strong as its enforcement, folks. Let's not forget that.
Disgusting, tangent kings